So, am I ever gonna find out who you actually are?
What if I told you I'm someone you've never known, but has planned out the series of events that happened to you that were much cooler?
I'd say that's pretty fucking dumb.
Oh, also, I'm your brother.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my look at the Scream franchise. Today, Sydney must obey the rules of a trilogy or die in Scream 3. Scream 2 was another box office smash, grossing $101 million, just $2 million short of matching the original. Critics and fans praised it too for continuing the theme of taking on horror and now sequel conventions with an enjoyable cast. Some even argued that it rivaled the original. Whoa, let's not get too crazy. The insane amount of success after just 2 movies of course meant a third entry was greenlit. However, in April of 1999, shortly before production of the film, the Columbine massacre took place in which 2 students killed 13 people in the Columbine High School. Many tried to find the reasons behind their horrific actions, and a lot of blame was put on the media in our society, including violence in video games and film. With the backlash, Scream 3 was almost scrapped altogether, but the studio moved forward with the intent of toning down the violence. In fact, they were demanding the film have no blood whatsoever until Wes Craven stood up and said, "Be serious. Either make a Scream movie or we make a movie and call it something else. But if it's a Scream movie, it's going to have certain standards." Kevin Williamson was unable to return to writing duties after his success with both Scream entries got him involved with multiple projects. Aaron Kruger was hired to pen Scream 3, but it was a struggle for him between multiple rewrites, the studio wanting to focus on the comedic elements more than the violent acts, and writing for characters he felt unsure how to portray thanks to his lack of involvement with the development of the series. The story would take place 3 years after the events of Scream 2, with Sydney going into hiding but eventually drawn back out after several new Ghostface killings take place on the set of Stab 3. Wes Craven returned to direct, with Campbell, Cox, Arquette, and Schreiber reprising their roles as their respective characters. The 2 big additions included Patrick Dempsey as Detective Kincaid and Parker Posey as Jennifer Jolie, the hyperactive actress playing Gale in the Stab series. So, with issues plaguing all 3 phases of production, how would this concluding act of a supposed trilogy end? Let's take a look. The movie begins in Hollywood, California, with Cotton Weary, who managed to become the host of the #1 syndicated talk show in America, 100% Cotton. Damn if that ain't clever. On the phone with his agent, he gets another call from a girl who claims to have the wrong number, but fangirls when she realizes who she's talking to. Cotton decides to humor her for a bit.
Now, what would your girlfriend say?
What makes you think I have a girlfriend?
I know you do. I'm right outside her bathroom door.
The killer demands Cotton tell him where Sidney Prescott is, or he's going to kill his girlfriend, Christine. Cotton races home, nearly causing several accidents, but it sounds like he made it just at the right time.
I'm not gonna believe what just happened to me.
What are you talking about?
Ghostface chases Christine around, speaking to her in Cotton's voice. Only problem is, Cotton arrives on the scene after the killer has broken in. He arms himself with a weapon, but Christine attacks since of course she thinks he's the one who's been attacking her. Ghostface sneaks up and stabs her in the back and somehow overpowers Cotton and stabs him.
It was a simple game, Cotton. You should have told me where Sydney was. Now, you lose.
I actually really like this opening more than the one from Scream 2. We know by this point whoever pops up in the opening of these movies is gonna get it before the title card, so when it's Cotton who shows up, I'm immediately thinking about how I don't want him to die, cause I like him quite a bit after the last time. Even though his fate is sealed, I'm rooting for him to beat Ghostface. It sets up that Ghostface has an agenda, finding out where Sydney is instead of just randomly killing Cotton. However, I'm not a huge fan of the voice box now being able to mimic other people. It's sorta interesting because it does create that confusion and lack of trust of who you're actually talking to, but that kind of technology is impossible even today, so I doubt it was readily available in the year 2000. But yeah, pretty solid opening that sets up Ghostface's motive and kills off one of my favorite characters. Cut to Sydney, who is living in seclusion in the mountains with a ton of security. She now works for a women's crisis hotline, but goes by the name Laura. Gail is giving a lecture to journalism majors, but is approached afterwards afterwards by Detective Kincaid, who informs her of Cotton's brutal death. The murderer left a photo of a young Maureen Prescott at the crime scene. Oh god, they're gonna give her a complicated backstory, aren't they? On the set of Stab 3, director Roman is fuming since production on his film may have to be shut down after Cotton's murder. There's mention of how violence in cinema is a big deal these days, but if they stop making horror movies, the world psychos are just gonna disappear? Clever way to have art imitating life. Or is life imitating art imitating life? Or imitating art, Stab 3 castmates Tyson, Sarah, Tom, and Angelina discuss the murder and whether or not they're targets of the killer too. Psh, you guys are fine. No way are all of you just padding for a higher body count. Gail arrives on set but runs into Jennifer, the actress playing her in Stab 3.
You know, I'm sorry things didn't work out on 60 Minutes too, but total entertainment, that's a pretty good fallback.
I'm sorry that things didn't work out with Brad Pitt, but being single, that's a pretty good fallback.
The interactions between these two are honestly my favorite things in the whole movie. It's Gail versus Gail, and only the bitchiest will come out on top. Dewey is surprisingly on set too, working as a technical advisor and assistant to Jennifer. He has some harsh words for Gail, who is immediately kicked out when studio head John Milton announces no press on the set. Cut to Sydney having a talk with her dad, who wants her to come home. But that night she has a weird and creepy dream of her dead mother visiting her, calling them both poison to everyone they're around. Sarah shows up to the studio to complain about her character and script changes, but also go over her lines with Roman over the phone. But things take a dark turn.
My movie. And it's called Sarah Gets Skewered Like a Fucking Pig.
She figures the best place to hide is in the costume room filled with ghost faces. The real one emerges and easily dispatches her after her prop weapons are of no help. The next day, Gail and Dewey go to Jennifer's house where they learn of Sarah's murder, concluding that the killer is targeting their victims in the order they're killed in Stab 3. With Gail set to be killed next in the script, Jennifer fears for her life. On the set, Detective Kincaid and his partner Wallace question Roman after multiple sources confirmed he was the last person Sarah spoke with after he asked her to come to the studio. Roman denies ever having a conversation with her, but he's taken in anyway. That night, with Stab 3 production shut down, Jennifer throws a get-together with Angelina and Tom. Gail spies on Dewey and Jennifer looking at one of her headshots, but bodyguard Stone catches her and brings her inside. She shows Dewey another picture of Maureen that was left at the murder of Sarah, but the photo was taken in the same spot Jennifer's was, meaning Maureen was secretly an actress in LA when she was younger. Stone waltzes into Dewey's trailer outside Jennifer's house, but when he gets a call from Dewey to come back in the house, he makes an insensitive comment about his sister, Tatum, who was killed.
What did you say? I can't believe you said that. That makes me angry!
Stone makes it to the front door before collapsing outside. The power is cut, but the fax machine is working just fine, so the killer can send those still in the house pages of their new script, which details that they only give mercy to
whoever smells the...
Oh my god, talk about going over the top. If there was that much gas in the house, that whole crew would have died from inhaling it before it blew up the whole fucking place. This is so dumb, and already a far cry from the fairly grounded in reality original. After a tumble down the hill, Gail is nearly attacked by Ghostface, but they're shot multiple times by Dewey, except they survive and peace out. Jennifer interrupts a Dewey-Gail moment to slug Dewey in the face for not protecting her.
Hey! My lawyer liked that.
They find another photo of Maureen, but this time there's a message on the back that says, "I killed her." Oh dear God. Billy Loomis is back from the dead to finish what he started. I mean, that is the only logical explanation after a message like that, right? At Kincaid's office, he is strangely adamant about Dewey bringing Sydney in for questioning. Lucky for him, she received a call from the killer earlier, so it drove her out of hiding and into the police station, although she's no help when it comes to Maureen's mysterious past. On the backlot studio, the trio meets Martha Meeks, Randy's sister, who just happens to be there for no explainable reason. She does have something to show the three, though, a video that Randy left behind before his death. Yeah, I think everyone realized they fucked up by killing him off, so what better way to bring him back even in death? He explains the rules of a trilogy if another killer were to appear in the future.
1, you got a killer who's gonna be superhuman. Stabbing him won't work, shooting him won't work. Basically, in the third one, you gotta cryogenically freeze his head or blow him up. Number 2, anyone, including the main character, can die. This means you, Sid, I'm sorry. Number 3. The past will come back to bite you in the ass. Whatever you think you know about the past, forget it. Any sins you think were committed in the past are about to break out and destroy you.
Afterwards, Gale and Jennifer team up to dig up some information on Maureen. This is where we get a cameo from the late great Carrie Fisher, who helps the women dig through the archives to discover that when in Hollywood, Maureen went by the name Rena Reynolds and worked on horror movies with studio head John Milton. You know, Lance Henriksen from earlier. Sidney randomly catches Angelina in the bathroom with a Ghostface mask souvenir, but moves right along onto the set of Stab 3, which has recreated her old home and Stu's house from the original. Wait, why would Stab 3 be covering events that would have already been covered in Stab 1? And just what the fuck happened in Stab 2 that they've now jumped to Stab 3? I don't know, it sounds like the continuity of that series makes about as much sense as Friday the 13th. Anyways, Ghostface attacks Sidney, they recreate the stair chase scene, and it ends with Sidney hearing her mom's voice.
Give Mommy a kiss and we'll make up.
Sid jumps out of the window as help arrives, but the authorities find no sign of the killer. In Milton's office, Roman is bitching about his movie being shut down, but Dewey, Gale, and Jennifer confront Milton about Rena Reynolds, aka Maureen Prescott. He talks about knowing her back in the day, mentioning that she and other actresses would come to his place for parties to get roles, implying some creepy sexual assault. Afterwards, Dewey gets a call from Sidney saying she'll be at a birthday party being thrown for Roman at Milton's place. When he and the girls arrive, they find out Sid was never invited. Boy, that new voice box makes it easier to set things up in a nice and in no way cheap, nonsensical manner. The party members split up to explore the house, but Dewey and Gale conveniently find the Ghostface costume, phone, and voice box.
Dewey's got our voices.
This is not possible. Get the fuck out of here, Screen 3, with your bullshit plot device. Gale goes off and finds Roman dead in the basement, regroups with Jennifer, but Angelina takes it upon herself to leave alone instead of together.
You guys should get out too! It's crazy to still be here!
A 4-on-1 fight breaks out, and for no good reason, no one is able to take down Ghostface, and it ends with them chasing down Tyson and tossing him out the window. They then magically pop up to find and corner Jennifer in a secret passage, ultimately stabbing and killing her.
Snap out of it! You act like you've never seen a dead body before!
Ghostface then goes after Gale, but she knocks the two of them down into the basement. Before Dewey can do anything, Ghostface throws a knife at him, hitting, not stabbing him in the head. At Kincaid's office, Sidney finds his very suspicious scrapbook of her, but Ghostface calls her and tells her they've got Dewey and Gale hostage. The only way to keep them alive is to come to Milton's alone, which she agrees to, but not before eyeing up a police vest and taking Kincaid's gun. Sidney arrives, but Ghostface has laid out a metal detector and forces her to use it, exposing her gun, which she tosses into the pool. She goes inside to rescue Dewey and Gale, but is attacked from behind.
Think again. It's your turn to scream, asshole.
I love you, Sidney, and you are a badass. But that would have been way cooler without that cringy line. Ghostface disappears, but then Kincaid conveniently makes his reappearance. He ain't the killer though, since Ghostface jumps out from behind Sidney, but gets blocked by Kincaid. Another chase ensues, but it leads Sid to a hidden screening room where the killer is already at, claiming to be her other half. They reveal themselves to be...
I don't even know who you are.
Roman Bridger, director.
And brother.
Yeah, it's the director Roman. Apparently, he was abandoned by Maureen after she got pregnant at one of Milton's parties. He tracked her down, but she shut him out, no longer Rena Reynolds, but Maureen Prescott. Wanting revenge, he says he provided Billy Loomis with footage of Maureen with his father, convincing him to kill her and give him some tips, including finding a partner and a person to frame. No, abso-fucking-lutely not. Billy was fueled by his own psychotic ways, not the long-lost brother of Sidney. This random dude cannot be the catalyst for the series of traumatic events in Sidney's life. Oh my god, this is one of the most egregious retcons I've ever seen attempted.
This is egregious! This is egregious!
Roman brings out Milton, blaming him for Maureen's loss of innocence, and kills him while planning to frame Sidney for the murders. It's brawl in the family as the two get into a fight that leads to Roman actually shooting Sidney, but she pulls a Michael Myers and disappears from her spot. She gives him a surprise stab to the back and shows that she was wearing a bulletproof vest. She stabs him in the chest, but the two hold hands as he takes his last breath.
What? Head! Shoot him in
Sometime after all that, at Sydney's house, Dewey proposes to Gale, and she says yes. Sydney returns, opening the gates in a triumphant moment. Kincaid is there too for a movie night, but before Sid can join them, her door blows open, leaving it be to symbolize she no longer has any fear of who or what is out there. That, and it's literally leaving the door open for a potential sequel. My overall thoughts on Scream 3. It isn't god-awful, but it's not good and a shockingly weak entry for this franchise. I'm just gonna get my positives out of the way first. Sydney is still awesome. Neve Campbell was only available for 20 days to shoot her scenes, but she makes the most of everyone she's in. It's amazing how a character in a slasher franchise can seem to grow with each movie and remain just as interesting as they always are. After almost being murdered on several occasions, she's decided to hide herself to finally grasp some sort of normal life. That's impossible though, because you can see she still lives in constant fear, and that's no way to move on with your life. She conquers that fear by the end, as you can see when she opens up the gates to her home and leaves the door open to her house. Having gotten rid of the mastermind behind all of her tragedy and discovering all the secrets her mother had, she's ready to carry on. I've said this each time, but she's an amazing, strong final girl. And one little detail I love is that you see she still wears the Greek letter necklace Derek gave to her. It shows that she still cares for him. As I mentioned already, I think the opening is fairly well done. The original set the bar, and going into a Scream movie, you're expecting it to start off with a bang. This one packs more of a punch than Scream 2's with the death of Cotton Weary, but it also serves a purpose rather than just being a random kill. Seeing Randy back in a small bit is a pleasure, since he always felt like a necessary gear in the Scream machine. They knew fans wanted him to return, so I'll give them props for doing it in a plausible manner instead of creating some farce that he actually survived. And finally, I actually like the addition of Parker Posey as Jennifer. She provides a lot of the humor that works in the movie with her diva personality and catty back and forths with Gale. I wish she would have survived with the potential of coming back in the future.
Starting now, I go where you go. That way, if someone wants to kill me, I'll be with you. And since they really want to kill you, they won't kill me. They'll kill you. Make sense?
None.
Alright, that's about it. The rest of the movie feels like a mess. There is too much going on. The clever writing found in Williamson's scripts is nowhere to be found and is a jumbled mess. You've got everyone at the studio working on Stab 3, the secret life of Maureen Prescott being revealed, Sydney living her life alone and having visions of her dead mom, Kincaid and his weird obsession with Sid, Dewey and Gale with their never-ending romance issues, and all the bullshit Roman piles on at the end. Giving Maureen this elaborate backstory was so unnecessary. Why do any of us care about a character only seen in pictures and mentioned by the killers? She was a promiscuous woman who got caught and became the target of a very vengeful teenager. That's all we needed to know, but now it's in her 20s, she was an actress who worked in horror movies, was taken advantage of, had a love child that she abandoned, and moved to a small town to escape all that. It's so convoluted and unnecessary for someone no one was asking for more information about. Dewey and Gale become way more of a central focus, and personally I think they work better as main side characters while Sydney is the general main character. They're heavily involved in a lot of the movie's big moments, and I sadly don't find them interesting enough to hold those scenes down, unlike the ones they did in parts 1 and 2. The relationship woes are tiring because you know they're gonna get together in the end, and surprisingly both are acting as mediocre, or in some cases, downright awful.
Look, Gale. The mirror's moving.
The majority of the cast feels like cannon fodder for a higher body count, so the enticing aspect of the whodunit doesn't work. The biggest suspect you have the whole time is Detective Kincaid, because the killer wants to know where Sydney is, and he's also obsessed with finding her. They also play with the idea that it could be Angelina or Milton, but I'll be damned if either of those two are throwing around Liev Schreiber with ease. The actual reveal of who the killer is one of the biggest disappointments in the series. Roman, the director just introduced in this movie, who's been a whiny bitch and continues to be a whiny bitch until he's killed, is the fucking mastermind that insists he's the one who persuaded Billy into killing Maureen. I know Randy says that in a trilogy your past comes back to bite you and things you thought were true are not, but goddamn, bringing in some long-lost half-brother shit is so soap opera that you can't help but roll your eyes. Let's say there was a mastermind, but it turned out to be someone we've known this whole time, like Dewey. Someone that Sidney has trusted through 3 movies being the puppeteer would have been a soul-crushing betrayal for her. It probably would have helped the storyline with Gale too. But nah, the new guy that had mommy issues was the route they went down. And they made him a lone killer. This is the one movie where you legit needed a second killer because the way he moves around so quickly makes no sense. And the new voice box! Good lord, is that dumb with a capital D? They do it to be like, oh no, you can't trust anyone on the phone, but the logic of it is impossible and only comes in handy for plot convenience. Alright, I don't want to end too angry, so I'll add in one more positive that Roger Jackson does well again, when his voice is actually used, to be very frightening. Also, considering the controversy that was going on, I think the kill scenes were handled just fine, remaining true to the franchise but not being overly violent. Just flat out stupid sometimes. So while Sidney is still best girl in horror, the opening kill with Cotton is great, Randy's cameo is welcomed, and Parker Posey made a fun character addition. The entry is long gone from the simple concept of the original, with its complicated storytelling, convoluted retcons coming out the ass, shit villain with a shit motive, and uninteresting characters. It is the worst entry, but oddly enough, still the best worst entry in any franchise I've seen. So with that knowledge, I give Scream 3 2.5 bulletproof vests out of 5. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is the worst in the Scream franchise? Were you okay with Maureen Prescott getting a backstory? How'd you like Roman claiming to be an influence on Billy Loomis? And what was your favorite kill? Don't forget to subscribe and follow my Twitter and Instagram. Links to those are in the description. Next week, it looks like someone's out to remake the original movie in Scream 4. Until next time, peace.